So I had many people tell me that I was not thin. One time I did get last place in a beauty pageant. True story. I link a lot of my pain to food, and it's all in my head. It has nothing to do with the food. It's just all in my head. Hello, my friends. Amy Esther here, and in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about my bad relationship with food and the struggles that I've had with it and what I'm doing going forward, my plans for healing this relationship that has been hurting me for a long time. Food is really hard for me, and although I don't think I have an eating disorder, I just have a really bad relationship with food, and I'm ready to change that. So I want to share that with you today. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have several chronic illnesses, and I make videos here on YouTube about life with chronic illness. So if you struggle with a chronic illness, you are definitely going to want to be subscribed to my channel. I make videos multiple times a week to help you and me do life with chronic illness and pain and extra challenges that a lot of people don't have to deal with. So if you're interested in that, make sure you're subscribed. Today, I just need to sit down and talk with you guys about something that I've really been struggling with. I have a terrible relationship with food. I have not been diagnosed with an eating disorder. I just have a bad relationship with food. We don't get along. We are not friends. So let's talk about it. And I'm going to share with you my story, and I'm also going to share with you what I plan to do about it, how I'm planning to change this relationship to heal it, just like you would heal a marriage or heal any other type of relationship. That's what I need to do with my food. So I'm going to share all of that with you today in hopes that maybe it will help someone. If not, hopefully it will help me to just get it out there and to start to heal, because sometimes just talking about it is the first step, and the biggest step, the hardest step, is just admitting it and getting it out there. So here we are. So I want to start by telling you my journey with food, kind of how I got here, and where some of these negative thoughts and patterns have come from. So for my story, I started out not ever eating I never really thought about my food, I guess, most of my life. I never thought about it. I didn't think about what I was putting in my body, and I don't think that was a negative thing or a positive thing, because of course there's the negative of maybe I wasn't eating the healthiest food. I should be more conscious about what I put in my body. But on the other side, I didn't have any stress about food, especially growing up as a child, someone else made my food for me usually. But then once I got older and I was making my own food through high school and in college, I just made what I could afford. So especially in college, I think I ate boxed pasta every day. So at that point, I was eating very unhealthy. Growing up, I wouldn't say I ate super unhealthy. I wouldn't say I ate super healthy either. I just didn't really think about it, like I said. And then in college, my only thoughts about it was how cheap can I eat. So I was eating very, very cheap. I had almost no money for college. That is a story for another day, but there were multiple semesters where I paid my tuition and then I was seriously broke. So boxed pasta, those $1.99 boxes of pasta, I ate a lot of those to survive in college. And so I did not eat healthy at all. I started to gain some weight. Now I wasn't super overweight or anything, but just a little more than normal, maybe 10, 15 pounds more than what I typically was or what a healthier weight would be. So I started to gain a little bit of weight in college, and then I decided to move to China. I was teaching English in China with one of my friends. That's a whole nother story for another day as well, if you guys want to hear about that. But me and my friend, two blonde white girls in China, living alone, do not speak the language. No one in our city spoke English. I don't know how we survived, honestly, but we did. However, when I was there, I had, okay, how do I explain this? The culture there in China is very, they say what they're thinking. They are not afraid to say what's on their mind. So I had many people in China tell me that I was not thin. Let's just say it like that, because they didn't really speak English. They spoke very little words. So, for example, I would try on a dress at a store, and the store owner, like, she's probably wants to sell me this dress, but this is their culture there. She would walk up to me and pat my belly and say, "Oh, you really like food." And I don't know, she probably didn't use those words. It's probably more like, "Oh, like food, I see," you know? And that happened a lot. A lot of people told me things like that, or they'd say, "Oh, you should exercise. You want to exercise every day," and like things like, they just say what they're thinking, right? And in my mind, people would say stuff like that, and so of course I'm interpreting that as I'm fat. They think I'm fat, right? And even though I knew I wasn't overweight, I was probably, from what I am now, what you can see of me in this video, I was probably about 10 to 15 pounds more than I am right now. So I was not overweight. I was maybe past, I was maybe a little less healthy than I could be, but I definitely was not like super overweight or anything. However, in my head, I interpreted them as you're fat or you're overweight or you need to lose weight. And I started to tell myself that, when before I wasn't really telling myself those things. And again, that was of course my interpretation of what they were saying. Maybe they were thinking that, maybe they weren't. Maybe that's just nice. They think they're being nice. They do think they're being nice. They think they're being helpful. But I definitely took it personally at some points, and I almost hit, I would say, the lowest point in my self-esteem. Okay, second lowest. One time, side note, one time I did get last place in a beauty pageant. True story. Yes, last place in a beauty pageant. That was probably where my lowest self-esteem point was. But that was about a year. Was that 2 years? About 2 years before I went to China. So, we're on a roller coaster all the time. But anyway, in China, I was like, okay, I can either let this get me down or I can do something about it. So although my self-esteem was a little shot and these comments came the entire time I was there, I ended up focusing on my health. And I said, okay, well, what can I do about this? Well, let me stop eating so much rice, because I'm eating a lot of that. Let me start eating more vegetables. Let me start running every day. And I just started to do, the healthy things that I could do. Now, again, I couldn't speak the language, so I did the best I could. I didn't have a lot of options for food. I ate a lot of street food and all that. So I did the best that I could. But I ended up losing about 10, 15 pounds, whatever. Basically, by the time I left, I was about where I am right now. And I felt really good about myself, and by the end of that, I actually still had people making comments to me, but at that point, I had found my own confidence, so it didn't matter what other people said. I could still see that I was beautiful, and I was looking good in my mind. So anyway, that was kind of my self-esteem journey of the story. But after that, I was just on this health journey. So I got back to America where I could really get into health because, like I said, I didn't have a lot of options. I had to eat the food that they gave me at the school that I worked at. People would buy me food, and it was really hard to really regulate in China. So when I got home, I was just on this health journey. You ask anyone in my family, I was just eating super, super healthy. I ate so much spinach, I made myself sick sometimes. Like, I was just doing a lot of health stuff. And then I also was working out with a personal trainer when I got back. So those first, about 6 to 8 months after I returned home from China, I was eating really, really healthy, and I was exercising a lot and working with a personal trainer. And I got engaged during that time to my now husband. And I was the healthiest I had ever been. I felt really good. I felt amazing. The weight part didn't matter to me. I mean, I'd lost 10, 15 pounds, but that part didn't matter to me. I was just feeling so, so good. So I got married, and if you guys know my story, you know this. A week later, on my honeymoon, my husband and I both got food poisoning. His went away 24 hours later. Mine is still here today, 5 years later. It's been a fun ride. So, I got food poisoning, never went away. And I started to get super bloated and a lot of stomach pain, a lot of bathroom issues, all the things. And it was really frustrating because I was the healthiest I'd ever been. It'd been about a year since I started my health journey, and I was just crushed that I was working so hard, and I would see other people, even my sweet husband, I'd see him eat foods that weren't healthy for him. I would eat foods that were super healthy for me. I would feel terrible. I would be super bloated, and he would be just fine eating literally whatever. And it was really frustrating. So over that next year, I tried pretty much every diet you can think of. I went to tons of GI doctors. I had stomach scopes and CT scans and just all the tests you can think of to try to figure out what was wrong and try to heal what was going on. I had a few things diagnosed here and there, but nothing was working. And I had many doctors tell me that I wasn't being strict enough on my diets. I would come back in and say, no, this symptom's worse, or this test would be worse than it was before. And they'd say, well, you weren't staying on your diets then. You're obviously eating gluten because you would have been healed by now. And I'm like, no, I have not eaten that since I talked to you last. I haven't eaten gluten in a year, and I'm still sick, or whatever other diet or symptom or whatever it is that they were telling me. I had a lot of doctors tell me that I wasn't being strict when I really was. And I feel like this whole story has contributed to a lot of negative thoughts about myself. So my stomach issue started, like I said, about 5 years ago. And not only did I have all these stomach issues, but I also, it moved to every other part of my body over the next year. It moved to fatigue and muscle aches and pain everywhere, migraines, just all the things. I had pain everywhere. I mean, I still do. I don't know why I'm talking like this is the past. This is still my story. So to this day, I still have all this pain. I still have all these problems. And on top of that, being really strict on diets and not seeing results or seeing things get worse, and then having doctors tell me, look, you're not doing what we told you to. You're not doing it right. And going back to China, having people tell me when I thought that I looked good, that I didn't look good, or that I needed to lose more weight, or that I should do something differently, and just having all of that and going to my healthiest point in my life and getting the sickest I ever had at my healthiest point in life, all of that has caused a lot of negative thoughts around food for me. And I honestly didn't really notice until recently. If you watched my last video, if you're watching this in real time, it was just the video that went up Monday. I tried to do the keto diet and it failed miserably because my body, it was just too much for my body to handle. And I loved being on that diet. I was only on it for a few days, and this happened with every diet that I have tried. I loved being on the diets, which sounds crazy because most people are like, no, most people don't want to be on a diet. They want to eat whatever they want. But there's control. I had something to control when my illness and my pain felt out of control. And this has caused a lot of problems in my thoughts, in my brain. And I can tell you at this point a few things. One is that I don't always know what's going to make me sick. In fact, most of the time I don't. I might eat something today that feels great, eat the exact same food tomorrow, and feel terrible. I might think I have found a diet that works, and the longer I do it, I get symptoms again. When I eat healthier foods, I usually feel worse immediately, but I feel better later. So I might have more of a stomach ache if I eat broccoli for dinner. I might be in extreme pain from that broccoli, but then the next day I might have more energy, versus if I eat, a piece of toast, my stomach will feel a lot better in that moment, but I might have a little bit less energy the next day. And those examples could be flip-flopped on other days where the broccoli doesn't hurt my stomach, but then I don't have energy. And I think in my brain, I link a lot of my pain to food. Not only because that's something that I control and that's something that I put in my body, and that's easier to blame on me than to just let go of that control and let my body do what it's going to do no matter what I eat, but also because a lot of people claim that food is medicine, and that if you eat a certain way, it will take away certain symptoms, or if you don't eat certain things, that it will make you healthier, or if you do eat certain things, it'll make you healthier. There are so many claims, whether it's supplements or diets or just certain superfoods that you need to eat. People make these claims, and you see them constantly, all day, every day, all over the internet. I have probably posted videos saying things like, this diet is life-changing, it's helped me so much. Maybe not that extreme, but I might have said that this diet helps me a lot, and told you to do a certain diet or something. I mean, I try not to tell you what to do, but I'm sure at some point I have mentioned food and how food can help you or hurt you. And we're just bombarded with this information. And I think in some ways, yes, it can be helpful, but in a lot of ways, it can be really harmful. And for my case, it has been very harmful. And of course, that's me. That's my interpretation. It's not that anyone's wrong for saying what they want to say or sharing their story if it worked for them, but my brain is interpreting things in this way, causing me problems, because I definitely believe that my problems come from my brain, all of them. If you guys have taken, I have a course where I talk more about this, but our problems come from our own brains. We create those for ourselves. So because of all this, I have very flip-floppy, I don't know how to call it, very unbalanced thoughts about food. I go to extremes. So my thoughts are either I have control over this. It doesn't matter what I'm feeling right now. If I'm on a diet, this is the right thing to do. If I'm on a diet, it doesn't matter if my symptoms get worse or better. I honestly probably don't even know for sure, because my brain gets better when I'm on a diet. My brain has an easier time being on a diet and having control over the food than it does allowing my body to just do what it's going to do and have symptoms that it wants to have. I feel like I have more control, and I ignore the symptoms that I feel when I'm on a diet because I feel like I'm in control, and it's all in my head. It has nothing to do with the food. It's just all in my head. Or I go to the other extreme, which is screw it. This isn't working. Diets are stupid. They aren't helping me. I feel worse on this diet. I have this symptom, this symptom. This is dumb. Why would I do this? I'm just going to eat whatever I feel like. I don't even care. And I go to these two extremes. And if you've talked to me anytime in the past few years, you probably have heard one of those two things. Either like food is medicine, it's doing everything for me, even if my symptoms are getting worse, because I feel like I'm in control of something. Or I don't care, screw it, this is dumb. Food does nothing. There's no link between food and me and my pain. And I have recently discovered that this is not healthy. It's not a healthy way to think. And I have thoughts every time I think. No, that came out wrong. I have thoughts every time I eat that are negatively impacting everything and causing me more problems than even the symptoms that I feel. And I have created some truths for myself, which truths are just what we believe to be truths. Your truths will be different than my truths, but I believe these things about myself, like I don't like to cook. I believe that I don't know what to eat, and I make up these ideas and these thoughts for myself that give me the illusion of control when I really don't have any control over what my body does. So the other day, like I mentioned, I'd started the keto diet. My body rejected it. I didn't want to give up on it for a couple days, even though I knew it wasn't healthy for my body. Mentally, I wanted to be in control of something. And finally, I was talking to my husband, and he said, Amy, what if it's not about the food? And I was talking to my husband, and I told him, okay, if I quit the keto diet, I gotta have plan B. What am I gonna eat? And I'm like, well, I could do this diet, or I could do keto slowlier. I could go into keto slower. I could try this and this. And I just kept thinking that I needed to be on some kind of a diet. And it was all about control, of course, just me wanting to be in control of my body. And my husband said to me, Amy, what if it has nothing to do with the food? And that was like the light bulb moment for me when I realized that I had a problem, and the solution was not a diet. The solution was not to eat certain things. It didn't have anything to do with the food. The solution was to heal my brain around food. And then I could focus on what to eat. Then I could figure out the right diet for me. But for me to want to be on a diet just so I felt like I had control over my illness was not healthy, because then I'm not picking the right diet for me. I'm not choosing the right foods for me, because I just want to be in control of something. And so my goal for the next little bit is to focus on letting go of that control when it comes to food. Now, if you've taken my Chronically Me course, for those of you who are new here, I have a course. It's called Chronically Me. It's about how to manage your brain around chronic illness. A lot of the principles that I'm going to be implementing around food are what I teach in that course. So if you've been in there, you already are working on this, which is amazing. So for me right now, my focus is on food and healing my relationship with food, being more balanced when it comes to the thoughts I have about food, instead of being on one extreme or the other of I don't care or I care about every single tiny piece of everything that goes into my body, and thinking that, oh, it's my fault if I eat something and it makes me sick, or thinking that it literally could not matter, that food doesn't affect me, I can eat whatever I want. Those two extremes that aren't healthy for me. So I'm focusing on balancing those thoughts. And I want to challenge you to pick something to do with me. Now, maybe yours is the same. Maybe you struggle with balancing food. Maybe you have the opposite problem where you have a really hard time. You should be on a diet, or you want to be on a diet, and you have a hard time staying on that diet. You know the right diet for you, but you have all these thoughts around it that are causing you problems that make it so you can't stay on the diet, and you keep getting off of it. You can't handle the stress of the food, or you can't handle it when you go to parties or when other people offer you food or something. Or maybe you have a completely different thing that has nothing to do with food that you are struggling with, that you're having negative thoughts about, that you need to let go of some control over, and you want to feel better about it. Because the truth is, any negative feelings we have are not coming from the things outside of us. They're coming from us, inside of us. They're coming from our thoughts about those things outside of us. They're coming not from the food. They're coming about my thoughts about the food. Now, if that doesn't make sense, or it does make sense to you and you're like, I want more of this, I do have a course, Chronically Me. You can take that. I will link it in the description below. But I want to share this journey with you here on YouTube for free. I have this journey I want to go through, and I want to go through it with you. So I want you to pick something that you're struggling with, and over the next little bit, let's go through it together. And I'll make an update every month or so where we can talk about this together and try to go through this and get to a better place mentally about whatever it is that we're struggling with, because I think it helps to have someone to go through it with you. So I actually created for myself a little, like, I don't know, worksheet. That sounds like boring. I mean, I love school and learning, so maybe I'm a weirdo that loves worksheets, but I'm going to call it a worksheet. Sorry if that sounds boring to you, but I created a worksheet for myself and thought, you know what, if I'm making this for me, I bet someone else might want it. So for free, you can download that in the description below. This video is to share with you my goals, and then we will talk about the progress and where things are going in the next few videos. So subscribe to my channel, download the PDF, and I will see you on my next video.